had this nutso kind of scary experience yesterday. It was laundry day. I had to get some laundry done, so I put laundromat into my Google along my route, just going to swing in, do some laundry, and get the hell out of there. It was interesting. So I got there, and I immediately felt like not safe. It didn't feel like it was a very good place to be. But, you know, it was already like in my maps. I had a deadline. I had a reading to do. I had like shit to get done, and I had it all mapped out really carefully so I could get everything done in the time I needed to get it done. So I thought, well, I'll just like get my laundry done, get the fuck out of here. So I go in to this place, and I enter the laundromat. It's like, oh my God. I'm not sure. It was like there was just a lot of like dense energy and intense people around. I felt like I stuck out like a sore thumb. Let's just put it that way. And I went out to my car, and I parked sort of across the parking lot because my intention was to do some work while I was waiting for my laundry. But as I'm walking across the parking lot, this big burly guy in a truck, a few parking spaces down, yells something like, "Hey mama," or something like that, you know, something kind of like catcally or flirty. So, you know, I have a lot of confidence when I go through the world. I have a lot of martial arts experience. I have a 3rd degree black belt in Shotokan Karate, and I have a black brown belt in Danzanryu Jiu-Jitsu. So like, I don't attract a lot of that energy. But even me, when a big burly guy like 6'3" is catcalling me, we have to be very careful about how we handle that. So there's 2 ways to handle that. There's ignore them, right? Put your head down, ignore them, and just keep walking. And that can backfire because you can really piss a man off if he doesn't get the attention he wants. And I didn't really want to piss this guy off. So I felt that the best approach was to kind of go, kind of be polite and then move on very quickly, hoping that giving him that little bit of attention would satiate his. But the way that can backfire is it can be seen as an invitation. Time comes for me to move my laundry along. I go back inside. I navigate. I get my laundry into the dryer. I move back out. He catcalls me again. Says something like, "It's all you, baby." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And I get in my car. And then he actually leaves, right? While I'm waiting for my laundry to dry, he leaves. And by this time, my fear levels are starting to ramp up, right? And then he comes back. And I don't notice him come back because I'm like buried in my phone trying to just like ignore my surroundings because my fear is taking me into this really dark place, right? I've got a lot of fear running at this point. This guy comes up and bangs on my window. He's like, "Hey!" And I go lock the door, right? I didn't even have my doors locked. I'm so dumb. So I lock the door, and he hears me lock the door, and he goes, "Oh, you don't want to talk?" I was like, "No, thank you." And thank God, he just went, "Oh, okay," and he walked away. And I was like, but here's what was happening. Here's what was like, what is really, really important about this story. My fear levels were going up about like this, and I was starting to feel panic set in because I felt like I was sticking out. I felt like there was harassment going on. I felt like I was getting some dagger looks. You know, I just felt like I really didn't belong in this area. And as I was sitting there feeling the fear ramping up to getting to that panic borderline, because I'm single female traveling alone, and I have potentially gotten myself into a place that is really not for me, okay? I heard this voice that said, "Do not let your fear take control. Get your fear under control. Get your fear under control." And I went, okay, I have to get my fear under control. I couldn't let it run me. When it was driving me, I was sitting there buried in my phone trying to drown out the world. I didn't even have my doors locked. I was being unsafe because my fear was controlling me. I was in panic. I wasn't thinking clearly. I wasn't able to listen to my intuition when my fear had reached a panic level. So I sat there and I took a breath and I started saying a mantra, and I felt the energy of this mantra come into my body. This mantra for me, if a mantra is like an affirmation, it's something that I bring from my childhood. It reminds me a lot about my dad, who was very protective energy in my life. So to me, it cultivated this feeling of protection and presence and the warrior spirit that is inside me. And I said it a few times, and I felt it go into my body, and I felt a shift immediately. And I got out of my car, and I went into the laundromat, and as soon as I hit the laundromat, everything was different inside of that place. Where people were giving me sideways glances before and kind of looking at me like, "What are you doing here? What are you?" People started to respond to me like, "Hey, how you doing? I hope have a nice day. Here, would you like a wash card? I'm sure that you'll be back. You want to get in part of our rewards program?" And I was like, no, I'm good. But it was a completely different energy. And when I walked into that laundromat after doing my mantra, really after getting my fear under control, so I was no longer in a place of panic, but I was instead in a place of faith, the energy around me shifted so completely. The way people treated me shifted so completely. And that is when, and as I walked out of the laundromat, people were smiling, they were waving, hi, how are you? I wasn't getting any of that before. I was getting, what the fuck are you doing here kind of vibes. And as I moved out into the parking lot, I felt this tremendous sense of gratitude and love wash over me. And it became very clear that Spirit had used this instance for me to help me understand that we have to conquer our fear. We have to move from fear to love. It is the most important thing that we can be doing in this time, in this body, in this space, in this world that we are living in. When you move from fear to love, when you get control of your fear, then everything shifts around you. Everything shifts around you in the most magical and profound, potent ways. So I'm going to ask you this. What are you afraid of? What are you afraid of and what are you avoiding? I was afraid and I was avoiding my situation by burying myself in my phone. That's one of my tells that I'm scared. It's like, oh, let me just scroll social media incessantly, right? And what are you avoiding? Because that is what you need to work on, transitioning that fear. You need to work on shifting that fear into faith. And you can do that however you need to do that. You can do that through meditation, through spiritual practice, through movement, through mantras like I was doing. Find what works for you. Experiment with, see what works for you. Because when you take those anxiety levels down, take those fear levels down, everything opens up. The whole world shifts. That's how powerful you are. When my fear shifted, my individual fear shifted, the fear outside of me shifted completely. It completely changed the energetic dynamics of my environment. Mind-blowing. And I want this for you. Babe, I have some really fucking good techniques to share with you about transmuting that will help you transmute your fear into love, your fear into faith. Your life can be so different. Your life can be so expansive and so just alive. We have no idea how much we keep ourselves hemmed in because we're afraid. And a lot of times we're not even conscious that we're afraid. Let me help you become conscious and let me help you move through that fear and transmute it to love. And so that you and I can do our part in bringing in this new earth, in shifting the paradigm and living on a planet that is beyond our wildest dreams. Okay, link in the description of the video. I want you to check out my Soulmatic Mastermind program. All right? Let me know what you think. If it feels like a fuck yes to you, I want you to send me a message. Let's have a chat. I love you so much.